reduced, and a shaky ceasefire between Israel and Iran appears to be holding. After 12 days of war and a dramatic US airstrike campaign that now faces growing scrutiny. While Iran has arrested several for having ties with Israel and reportedly hanged 3 individuals for spying for the country, President Donald Trump announced the truce yesterday, saying he convinced both sides to stand down. But tensions remain high and claims of victory are being challenged. Trump declared that the US bunker buster bombs had, quote, obliterated Iran's nuclear program. However, a leaked intelligence assessment says otherwise. According to a preliminary Defense Intelligence Agency report, the strikes only delayed Iran's nuclear activity by a few months and not years, as Trump has suggested. The DIA says entrances to 2 sites were also sealed, but underground centrifuge halls were not destroyed. Stockpiles of enriched uranium remain largely untouched. The White House has rejected that assessment and called it a flat-out lie. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the leak was meant to discredit Trump and US plots. She insisted the mission was a success, saying monumental damage was inflicted. Trump posted online that the sites were completely destroyed. Still, questions linger. Iran's nuclear program, long suspected of military intent, may have survived with only minor setbacks. At the United Nations, the US and the strikes were lawful and self-defense and degraded Iran's nuclear capabilities. But European nations want more diplomacy and not bombs. France warned it may snap back sanctions if Iran doesn't return to talks. Britain has also urged Tehran to prove its program is peaceful. Iran's UN ambassador says the attacks proved only one thing: diplomacy remains the only way forward. President Pezeshkian called the ceasefire a great victory and said Iran is open to resolving issues with the United States and Gulf nations. Israel, meanwhile, has said it had removed the nuclear threat and would act again if Iran restarts its program. Let's listen in to Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel's statements.
ואכן, בכל הפעולות המזהירות שלוחמינו ביצעו, הורדנו לטמיון את פרויקט הגרעין של איראן. ואם מישהו באיראן ינסה לשקם את הפרויקט הזה, נפעל באותה נחישות, באותה עוצמה, לגדוע כל ניסיון כזה.
Earlier, Prime Minister Netanyahu praised Trump, calling him Israel's greatest ally in history. He said Israel's mission is unfinished, pointing to the war in Gaza. Both Iran and Israel have claimed victory. Both also accuse each other of violating the ceasefire, though no new attacks have been reported since Tuesday. Trump has scolded both sides, particularly Israel, for escalating after the truce was announced. He said they've fought so long they don't know what they're doing. Despite mutual distrust, Trump's intervention seems to have paused the fighting for now. His envoy says back-channel talks with Iran are promising. As world markets recover and airspace begins reopening, one question looms large. Can this ceasefire really hold, or is it just a temporary pause? We're now joined by Jim Rice, who's a professor of international law, to discuss this in more detail. He joins us live from Vigan, the Philippines. Jim, this ceasefire is seeming to hold, as we've said, for now, are the words, but given the rhetoric around the kind of press that these leaders are doing, what are your thoughts? Do you think this ceasefire is going to hold?
It's impossible to speculate at this point. Thanks for having me on, Thomas. However, chances are it won't. I mean, if I was, forced to speculate, I would say that inevitably there will be breaches of this ceasefire.
And Jim, what are your thoughts on Donald Trump's visible anger with both sides, but particularly Israel? We saw him use a curse word yesterday. First time we've actually heard him do so in that type of manner as president. showing clear frustration with, as Benjamin Netanyahu says, Israel's closest ally. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump's current stance on Israel? Do you think he's getting fed up?
Well, I had to smile when you slightly edited Trump's comments. I have never in my life heard a U.S. president use such language, certainly not in public. And to me, it's really an indication that Trump is not only frustrated, but he's a bit unhinged. One of the things that's the most concerning to us is the manner in which only hours after, minutes actually, after the bombing mission had taken place, Trump got on the television or got on his tweet and said that Iranian nuclear facilities have been completely obliterated, when he could have had no idea as to the nature and the extent of the damage. And then, of course, we find out later that the Defense Intelligence Agency, in a leaked statement, indicated that not only was it not obliterated, it only really delays the Iranian efforts to enrich uranium by a few months. And then, of course, we have the North Korean style statement by Caroline Levitt, which basically says that this is all designed in order to discredit Trump. So I would say it's beyond frustration, Thomas.
Yes, obviously we've spoken about that briefly. The fact that Donald Trump says that this assessment done by the United States, by the way, was completely wrong, and that he knew better, and that the program had been destroyed. Moving on down the line, how is this going to possibly come back at the US president?
Thanks for that question. What people need to know at this point is this is Trump's war. He owns this now. And I think he's even referred to this as his perfect war. So when and if this starts to go wrong, Trump will own all of this. And I'm sure that since Trump never takes responsibility for anything that he does, I'm sure he'll try to deflect. But this is on him.
Jim Rice, thank you very, very much for joining us on the program.